Live and we're live. Good evening, everybody. Just wait for Mrs. W to do a usual sound check once we go live. Is it working?
It still says waiting for. Has it come up on your screen?
Yeah, I've got it up on YouTube.
It's working now, yes,
Right,
and I've
thank
got
you.
you saying.
That is a lot of lag. So bear in mind, people, there's about 15...
No, it might just be me, darling.
Might be, because it came up on mine after about 5 seconds, but yours took about 15. So, well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back after Easter. Did we all have a good time?
Lots of chocolate.
Nobody in the chat. Oh, there we go. Dr. Kersey, good evening. You just wait for a few to get in. I dare say a lot of people won't get alerts. YouTube have been dicking about again all over the place.
Oh.
With comments and alerts. But obviously we had quite an eventful weekend with Mrs. W's daughter getting married.
I'm now a great-grandmother-in-law.
Great-grandmother-in-law. Jason lurking. Yeah, no worries, buddy. Peeing down. No, we haven't had any rain today. We had a little bit of a splattering earlier on, but it's been overcast all day. iBox, good evening. Oh, chat flashed on and off then. What's going on there? That was weird. We may have issues with the change in light tonight. Obviously, with the clocks changing, we've still got daylight outside, and this is a terrible room to light for video.
Bright lights.
Hi, Jan. That's why some mornings when I do my videos, I have to use lights, and others I don't. It's plus we've got like a sheen on the wall as well, which reflects the light and it gives it that green hue. Tony, good evening, mate. People slowly creeping in. Phil, good evening. Obviously, we got Mrs. W in the background there. If anybody...
We've got 15 watching now.
Got any questions that I can't answer later on or whatever, she's always willing to look them up.
You not know the answer to something.
Well, yeah, I have got a brain full of useless fucking information. Paulette, good evening, my darling. How are you? But yeah, there's been some events going on, hasn't there, this weekend? Well, and last weekend. With obviously the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. I don't know how many of you got caught out. I didn't get caught the once. Not even on YouTube.
You did wonder why there were so many silly videos out and then realised the day.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, but with the clocks changing, it is thrown, my brain's just gone out of whack. I can't even remember what day it is, let alone what time of day now. It's thrown my sleep patterns out of whack again as well. But so much has gone on.
Easter.
Yeah, hell of an Easter. Dale, good evening. But this new hate crime law in Scotland is causing a bit of a stir. I haven't been looking too deeply, as we knew what it was and we knew what it was entailing. But I mean, it's ridiculous to start with when someone who passes a law or puts the law forward and then breaks it himself when speaking. No, I ain't had a shave, Beardy. Good evening, Ricky. Good evening, mate. No shave. I did cut my hair last week. But yeah, nice. I mean, useless goes out and breaks it himself. Now, there's some varying reports from different sources, videos, the police themselves. And it seems if they're very, very reluctant to enforce it. Stuart, good evening, mate. You know, they already announced that they're not going to be looking into J.K. Rowling. Well, there's nothing there to investigate, as they said, really. She just said the truth, you know. Stitch, good evening. But it's interesting the amount of reports that have been going in, with over 4,000 in 2 days, I think it was. I saw somewhere. But the police said they're going to investigate every single one. Well, they're obviously not. But they downgraded other laws to concentrate on this, like fraud. Has been dropped way down their list of serious crime to be investigated. Obviously, burglary never has been for any police force, but it just seems a ridiculous law to put in, knowing that most are going to hate the thing. And it is a big boot in the face on censorship, because, you know, you can get prosecuted for various things. I haven't looked into the real ins and outs of it, but it's not just 30 words and stuff like that. Most of it is aimed at racial hatred. Well, we know apparently that only goes one way, doesn't it? The other way doesn't count. Although, are they taking that into account, looking into Hamas, whatever his fucking name is? Scotland's newest dictator. Yeah, exactly, Beardy. That's what I read into it. I didn't want to say that, but I was hinting that way. But obviously, everybody knows it does go both ways, but they only seem to take offence to it all when it comes from a certain demographic aimed at another one.
We are the privileged white and are not allowed to take offence at anything.
Well, maybe it's another white privilege that we've got. We can be racist, other people can't, and maybe that's a privilege.
One way of looking at it.
Has anybody ever had dealings with a government body called Channel Prevent? No, I've never heard of that. Hi, Box. Bleach Demon, good evening. Yeah, Jason, exactly. Possible 7 years for holding up a banner, yet paedophiles and rapists and kiddie abusers walk away from court with suspended sentences.
Oh.
Yeah, the prisons are already full, but they're full of the wrong people at the moment. Oh, I can get rid of that now. Everybody knows the rules around that. Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, it just seems, and I mean, the censorship is starting to reach out now. I mean, you've only just got to look at what happened to Reverend Simon Sideways on his main channel. Now, he's been banned for good, it seems, from live streaming on that channel. Resist, good evening, buddy. They haven't given any real justification for doing it. And as I've said before, I think, did I mention it in today? Yeah, I think I said it in today's video. A year or two ago, when YouTube brought in a new bunch of rules and what have you, there was one I was interested in where the punishment section was. And yes, we do know they can pull channels down, restrict channels. but also they can remove any backup channels you got if they feel they want to or need to. And because, as I said, Google own them, you can be restricted under the guidelines from YouTube on your Google content, what you can see and what you can't, or ultimately get removed from Google. And that was clearly in the rules, because I distinctly remember seeing them. If people haven't seen them yet, then I would say go back and look through YouTube's terms and conditions. I have had the odd dealings with it where I have got things wrong, I must admit, over the terms and conditions. But on that one, I remember distinctly reading it and doing it in a video. So, but I can't remember for the life of me what I called the video now. I think it was back in the day when they just had a date on them or a day. There was no titles or any real cataloguing of them all. What's up, iBox? What do you need help with, mate?
Is it a safeguarding issue? I've just Googled channel and prevent, and it's come up as a safeguarding.
For what, kids or women or
safeguarding generally?
Oh,
yes, children, young people, vulnerable adults.
Yeah, there you go, iBox. Mrs. W just looked at a look, and it's all about safeguarding. Not just kids, but vulnerable adults. And
if that's what he's looking for help on, I don't know whether Tina might be able to help. Don't know whether Tina
they're
might
coming for me tomorrow. Oh dear. I wouldn't know where to go with that, bud. Moo, good evening. I mean, Tina might be able to help, but at the moment, believe it or not, I haven't got her contact details on file. She may drop in later. I'll tell you what, if you go back through one of Dan's streams, it's a shame Holly's not in here, actually. She'd find a link.
It's... What the hell's her email? Shit, I haven't got it on here. Something TC at Hotmail.
Yeah, is that a new email?
Yes, that's a new email. Bear with me.
Mrs. W's going to have a look, see if she can find Tina's email address for her. Sorry, it's okay, just frightened. Yeah, that's understandable. Absolutely understandable. Obviously, you don't have to give away the ins and outs and the ears and what's in here if you don't want to, but make sure that support you to intervene, stop people becoming extremists. That's a different one to what Mrs. W's just found then, Beardy.
What's that?
He's saying here it's an organisation that's supposed to intervene and stop people becoming extremists. Well, maybe that's how they are billing themselves, as to protect people. No, Bleach Demon. If someone's worried about something, keep it a bit respectful, mate. They're,
the thing is, Channel is a multi-agency approach to safeguarding. supporting and protecting children, young people, and vulnerable adults at risk of radicalisation,
There you go.
extremists.
That's the rest of the title, yeah.
Next
Good
thing
evening,
I
Rob.
look at, the next thing I look at is prevent.
Kaz.
Prevent is core mission of prevent is stopping people from becoming terrorists or supporting terrorism. So it's both sides, channel and prevent.
So there you go. That is, they protect people from being radicalised.
Without knowing Hibo's situation. But whatever it is, yeah. Independent. What's
But
the
sorry
channel?
about that, Bleach. If someone's very anxious about something, it doesn't help to make them even more anxious, mate. That's all. Good evening, Rob, Ivor, Kaz. But where were we?
I am still looking, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we was on the hate speech laws when they called me an extremist and racist, potential terrorist. Thanks for your help. Why would they think you're a potential terrorist? Oh, I've never heard of that one, to be honest. Never heard of that one.
Yeah, but it's like county lines. There's all sorts of things out there now that go under these strange names that don't necessarily mean.
And are they setting these groups up just to get government funding?
I don't know who,
that's been done before.
Who runs them and oh, that's a video.
But anyway, what did you lot get up to over Easter? Anything exciting?
Lots of chocolate.
Lots of chocolate. I've had enough chocolate. I think we've still got one egg left over there, but after all my mini eggs, whoosh. Have to go now, upset. Have a good. All right, iBox. Take care, buddy. I don't really know what to say on that. I really don't. That's annoying. I must put Tina's contact details on here so I can put them up if people need it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
there
can't
are
remember
support.
the name of her channel. It's independent something.
Yeah.
So it's the initials. So like.
It was the Independent Advice Bureau or something like that.
So the email is something like iabtc@hotmail.com, but I can't remember those first the second letters. I know it starts with an I and ends in tc@hotmail.com, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't for the life. I know it's on some of the PAP streams. It was in the chat in there, but that's going to take a lot to go through and find that. But yeah, the weather cleared up very nicely for the wedding on Saturday. The sun even came out a bit, and they had the top down in the wedding car, which was something I didn't think we'd see at this time of year.
Stop to put it back up though.
Missy, good evening. How are you?
No, I'm never going to find it. Sorry.
No, that's what I mean. You'd have to scroll through sort of 4 hour, 5 hour streams just to find one link. As I said, if Holly puts in an appearance, I'll Oh, it's gone well past afternoon, Missy. We're well into the evening.
It's all about. Don't worry, but it's all about safeguarding. Making sure you're safe.
Yeah, but it's who's running it, isn't it? Yeah, that's what we had. I mean, we had rain Friday. It was forecast Sunday. I didn't see Saturdays. And when we all set off for the church, it was absolutely gorgeous. The light was streaming through the windows, the sun in the church. I won't bore you with the videos on here. I've got the whole service and everything on video.
Which I've been editing.
Mrs. W may put some of the videos up on her channel.
But I'm still gathering information.
We still haven't seen any of the official photos yet, and other people's photos and videos that they were going to send us to use. DJ, good evening. But yeah, it was a very nice day. There was a bit of a hiccup, a bit of a delay to start. The car apparently already had a nail in its tyre, so he knew there was a nail in there, which I personally wouldn't have set out on a wedding run knowing that was in there. But when he hit a pothole, apparently the nail flew out, and obviously the tyre went down. There was a couple of other little dramas through the day. I dare say Mrs. W will explain those on her channel at some point. But nothing major to ruin the day. Eventually. But a good time was had by all. I didn't see the evening affair, so I've got videos of that to look through and pictures because I was just wiped out. So I bugged out early. Thank you, Jen. Yes, it did. Hose pipe plans are planned. Well, with the way it's going with the water boards, Jason, that doesn't surprise me in the least. But we haven't had one here for years, funny enough. What are we under? What water board are we under?
South Staffs.
South Staffs. I mean, the main problem seems to be Thames, which has always been one of the worst ones. I used to live in the Thames Valley myself at one point. And they do nothing. They've got one big reservoir, which quite often is half empty, even on a normal summer. We know that because we used to sail on it. But yeah, how they can justify a 40% rise after what they've been paying themselves, that is absolutely fucking disgusting in my book. They put millions in their own fucking pockets and haven't put any money back into the infrastructure at all. I mean, when you think of old Victorian towns or even medieval towns like the one I come from, a lot of them are running on the old Victorian sewer system still. You know, they haven't even renewed the pipes. Yeah, shareholders' dividends, Jason, exactly. They're the ones that have been putting it in their pockets. Yeah, the great stink loafer. And it did force a lot of people out the city. And if it carries on the way it's going, yeah, it could end up that way again. I mean, there are people that regularly catch E. coli and that from the Thames and other rivers. Mrs. Grumpy, do you know you're on the same right profile? I've got a mission for you in a minute.
Yeah, she'll know it.
But, she'll have it on record. But yeah, I mean, I've seen it firsthand, and where they upgrade as well with buildings. I saw it myself in Newquay over the years. Newquay sewer system was built to handle the households for the houses that were built, which was usually a family, maybe one or two domestic staff. But then they all started opening up, being converted as guest houses, so there was multiple occupancies. Buildings were converted to flats, so instead of one family having a dump or two a day, you had maybe 20, 30 people doing it all day. And then they built a lot of bigger hotels and all linked into the same system. And of course, the system couldn't handle it. So regular, when it rained heavy, you used to get stuff coming back up through the drains. Lost Souls, could you do me a favour? Could you, because I haven't got it on record here anywhere, put Tina's contact in, her email address for her business, as it were. Someone in the chat earlier on is a little bit uptight. She's got something going off. If you could post that in the chat, that would be brilliant. Even Mrs. W can't find it, but I know you'll have it. Yeah, no worries, Holly. Thank you. Hi, Box, if you're still listening, Holly's here now. She's going to post Tina's link in there for you. She may be able to give you some advice, but she doesn't always get straight back to you. That's why it's always email to start with. But you put your phone number in or whatever, and she will give you a ring. But yeah, going back to social media, I mean, there are platforms where you can get away with a lot more, but I think that's not because the government haven't got involved. I think they're the ones that are defying the government in a way, and they will end up getting taken down. Mrs. W trying to send you a link.
That's funny. It says he's not contactable on Messenger as well.
Who? Bearded Veteran?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. So what's that on Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh, Facebook has been playing up all fucking day.
Because I thought if I bang one back to him.
You could probably do it by DM in Discord. That might be another option. But again, this is the thing with social media sites. They do whatever they want. They don't tell you they're going to do it.
I've got a load of pages open on it.
There you go. That's Tina's
ENTC
email.
Outlook.
Evening, Grumps. But yeah, Facebook has been terrible of late. I mean, I post stuff on there, and you can normally post a little few words at the top. I can type a bit in, but it won't show on there, and so it looks like I'm being interfered with on there as well. But thank you for finding that, Lost Souls. Much appreciated. I've got a bit of a cough. Let's put that in there. Just in case anybody wants to jump up. I don't know how long I'm going to keep going tonight, whether I'll last the full 3 hours till 10 o'clock. I don't know. It's between the wedding and clocks and losing days here and there. I've gone right out of whack with my sleep patterns and all sorts. So I did have an hour's kip this afternoon. Rudely awoken by the cat. But yeah, going back to the waterboards, wasn't it? That's where we were. We've always had a little bit of sewage discharge on the beaches, usually around towns. But very, very rarely did we used to see them this scale in the rivers. whether it's because it just wasn't being reported or it wasn't being put in the media, because obviously that's where most people were looking at it and looking at stuff like this. You're nearly asleep now, Missy. Yeah, I know how it feels. Yeah, Resist, you'd never see floaters coming by.
Yeah, it's funny, Mikey, you're the only one. It's
What?
still saying I can't contact him. He's got through to me.
Huh, weird. But I mean, you know, I fished for years as a kid on the River Thames, as it happened at Abingdon. It's one of the only few of only one or two places where you can actually fish without the Environment Agency's license. But you must be living within, I think it's 2 miles of the town centre or 3 miles of the town centre to qualify for it. You used to have to get a permit, but literally that was like 50p. Just you went in and proved that you lived in the catchment area, because apparently it was decreed in the Magna Carta as between two certain points on the river, it would always remain free for the river to be used by the townspeople for whatever purpose they wanted. So they can't enforce fishing licenses on there. But back then, the Thames, I mean, we used to swim in it regular. I mean, I never fell ill through it back then. But the last time, not the last time, a few times before, when I went back home, I did have a look down there, and it's just changed. The whole colour of it's changed. The staining on the banks have changed. So it's been building up and up and up for quite some time. But what we're seeing now, I really don't think it's long before, alongside some rivers, we will start seeing more and more infections, more and more diseases popping up, especially now as the rat population in most cities seems to have exploded. What's going on in the chat? It's working on Facebook mobile, but not on desktop. Ah.
Yeah, we're chatting away nicely on our phones, but the computer won't.
Right, anyway.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, you just said
they always did tests,
What?
Paulette. The Thames at Abingdon, because it was in one little area, a designated bathing area that they used to keep clean. They did used to test the waters in there, and I never saw a bad one when I was a kid. You know, they always said it was safe to swim and play in. But, you know, you got to think we've got quite a population explosion as well. You know, even after the war, since then, the population has been slowly growing. Now, you think of what the main blockage is in sewers now. People think it's the wet wipes and plastic. Well, I can tell you now it isn't. The biggest blockages that usually get reported are fatbergs, due to fat being poured down the drains. Now, I'm not trying to be racist or anything here, but we never used to use that amount of fat, and this never used to happen before we had a big influx of foreigners moving into this country.
Plus, you've got to save your drip.
Yeah, I mean, as Heather said, you used to save your fat and your dripping for your bread, didn't you?
There's an awful lot of short-termism and actually making rich quick schemes going on with regards to the provision of public utilities, and there's no long-term planning or management of that's from upland management, soakaways, places where actually water can actually accumulate and settle before it runs into the rivers and increases the runoff. You've got massive runoff. Sheffield, about 15 years ago, there was a massive flood. I mean, a huge flood. All they did in Sheffield was increase the size of the riverbanks, which of course funneled all of the water tearing down the River Don and the Porter Brook and Healy Brook, all the rivers that congregate in Sheffield, just shoved it further down. So consequently, further downstream got flooded out because they didn't have the flood barriers. Now, there's an awful lot of rivers that aren't being dredged for ecological reasons, so-called as well. So it's just no long-term management plan. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion. You should never, ever privatise what are essentially what were public monopolies. So if you live in the Thames catchment area, you've got to pay Thames Water. If you live in Yorkshire, you've got to pay Yorkshire Water. If you live in Lancashire or Greater Manchester, Merseyside, you've got to pay North West Water. So basically, you've got a public / private monopoly. Now, at the end of the day, if the shareholders and those people are actually in positions of power, sit on the board, are allocating and skimming off and avoiding tax by buying into the company.
This is what I've been saying. They're the ones that have been taking the money. They've been charging people the money, but they haven't been putting it back into the infrastructure and improving it.
And an awful lot of these people are actually foreign investors as well.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
So I mean, it's essentially a monopoly, and they can charge what the fuck they want. Now, this might be an even bigger unpopular opinion. Where's my tinfoil hat? Brown envelopes might be involved when it comes to allocating who actually wins these tenders to run these companies. They to skim off all the cream and leave everybody else with the shit, quite literally.
Literally, yeah. But I mean, the way everything's allocated, I mean, Sunak was going on the other day about this fucking Chinese invasion with the tech and that. They want to keep the Chinese out of major businesses and that in this country. Who are the biggest investors in our nuclear industry?
Probably global hedge funds and Chinese business interests.
A lot of Chinese interests, a lot of them. I think the French are involved, I saw somewhere as well. Well, obviously, France, I don't go a lot on anything they do or what they say they're going to do. But no, with the water, the Thames has been more in the media, shall I say, because it is one of the bigger catchment areas. It covers London. But you think with the crap they've come out now with it, Henley at the rowing shit. Now, when people say Henley, it's supposed to be the typical English town with the beautiful river that runs through the middle of it. And it is full of the elite, believe me, Henley. And so obviously that's going to be picked up. Media are going to want to talk about it. There's a lot of influential people live there. So has this been going on for longer than we think? Yes, it has.
Well, perhaps if some sort of virtue signalling middle class bourgeois elite London types actually figure out that they're batting for the wrong side with all their virtue signalling, and one of their children gets fucking tuberculosis or some waterborne viral disease and is personally affected by it, they won't do anything.
Well,
it is the London bubble, isn't it? It is the elites. Think about who actually owns London. At one point in the 70s, it were the Arabs that were investing. Yeah? I mean, they're illicit cocktail parties getting wrecked.
They've still got a lot of money invested in Canary Wharf.
Yeah, and then you got your Russian oligarchs who just miraculously appeared out of thin air in the 1990s. I mean, Roman Abramovich had to sell his football club because of one of the new current things. You know what I mean?
That was when Russia realised that they had a very, very large resource like oil, coal, and they started selling it outside the Soviet Union. So all of a sudden, the people that have owned these mines and whatever, all of a sudden they're getting rich.
This is what really concerns me, and I can't figure it out. There's a blowhard guy on He's big on social media. He keeps popping up all over the place. He keeps going on about how his ethnically Russian family were oppressed and victimized by the old regime, the old Soviet regime in the 60s and 70s. And yet his parents managed to get out of, he's a Russian Jew, right? His parents managed to get out of Ukraine in the 1990s, supposedly oppressed, but his parents managed to send him to a private boarding school. How did that work out, Konstantin Kisin?
Yeah.
Where did that money come from?
Exactly. And there's still a lot of Russian money about in the West, simply because some of the money boys, I'll call them, didn't pledge allegiance to Russia or nothing. They said, "Fuck you, we're off. We're going to work with the other side." They get to keep their money. Boily Boyle, good evening, Stephen. We won't be drove. You're new to the channel, mate. Welcome. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm that very curious. I'll give you all the clues and let's see if the chat can pick them up. Boily got it. Okay. Yeah, his poor, oppressed Russian Jewish family were very, very cynical, and they were not sent to the gulags, but they were unpersoned by the Soviet regime. The wall comes down, and his father and mother, I think his father and obviously his parents, came to Britain as poor Russian Jews from the Ukraine, and they had the money to send him to a private boarding school. Now, don't get me wrong, he says a lot of good stuff. All right, he blows out a lot about hypocrisy out of the water, but I'm just curious and very bit
sorry, Loper. It's an old friend of the channel. He keeps changing his name. Yeah.
I did wonder whether it was.
He comes up with a new name every week on the live to see if we recognise him.
There's a simple way of actually figuring out how many people living in the country. You look at the amount of basic foodstuffs and toilet paper that people buy in the supermarkets. You watch the consumption rates. You actually get them, and you actually try and figure out, are these people eating more or taking more shits? Simple, isn't it? Dead easy.
What are they eating after one or the other?
I must say though that when Sir Joseph Bazalgette won the award to actually construct the London sewers in the 1850s, there was a lot of pain and a lot of hardship. A lot of people were personally inconvenienced. Some houses had to be torn down, but he managed to get it done on budget and more or less on schedule. Yeah. And the crowning glory was at high tide. They didn't even treat the effluents. They didn't break it down.
No, it just went straight out with the tide.
It went out with the tide. So when the Thames was at high tide, they constructed the Crossnest shit pumping stations on the south bank of the Thames in Essex. That was the end of the sewage outfall for the north and southern banks of the sewage. And the building is architecturally beautiful, and it's wonderful brass. The biggest beam engine, steam beam engine at the time, and the 4 Lancashire boilers that they actually constructed were named after Queen Victoria's children. 4 Lancashire boilers, biggest beam engine at the time, named after Queen Victoria's children, and they were basically there to pump shit.
Yeah. I mean, most outfalls back in the day, even in my youth, there was them all round the coast, but they used to run the pipe so far out to sea, nobody saw it. But
you mentioned rats earlier. That's why I jumped up. I see them, at least one rat, every 2 or 3 days when I'm a contract employers. The cleaners are too scared to take the rubbish out, and I have to do it because we've got a family of rats hiding underneath the big skips at the back, so I have to take it out. My record is 1 adult and 4 juveniles came scurrying out with about 2 meters of where I stood chucking the bin bags in. And there's an area of Sheffield called Page Hall that has been blighted with rats for the last 15 years. David Blunkett and Nick Clegg, when they were MPs, were up in uproar about it. Bugger all's been done. Nothing's been done. The old working class people and the Pakistani people that predominantly lived in the area trying to get out on account of facts of antisocial behaviour and people irresponsibly disposing of food waste. In the area of Page Hall, I think Harry Gratian on Look North Tonight did a piece on it. It's called Page Hall, Sheffield, Rats. and nothing has changed. But antisocial behaviour, it's primarily the Roma community, not the Romanian people, the Romas. They're an itinerant band of travellers, and some of their language is very similar to Punjabi. They've moved from northern India across Arabia and into Eastern Europe, and they've been universally reviled as a group of antisocial people because of their behaviour: drinking, smoking, shagging on the streets, and chucking the food waste in backyards.
A bit like the invaders we've got now, then.
Possibly. And
But the thing is, now what are we going to do about this? I mean, what broke in the news today, or well, yesterday, that we don't have the capabilities to defend ourselves anymore. No, because we've fucking given it all away. The money, the weapons. And what is the point of have anything to defend your country from invasion from if you're just bringing the invasion in unopposed? I'm going to end up going down the same route as the Rev and I and getting fucking hammered here by YouTube starting that shit. But it's true, you know?
Well, if YouTube's listening, that Page Hall Rats reference, if you want to send us to the naughty step for that, send the BBC there as well, because it's still up on YouTube. I watched it again last week.
Well, this is what I couldn't understand about the Revs. They blocked him from live streaming over a community strike on a video, allegedly, which shouldn't affect his ability to live stream. You know, they took the video down, he paid the punishment for it, and then all of a sudden this is starting to happen. And I still think it's what I said a little while back, that they've been given all this extra censorship that they can use. They've been given instructions by the government, and they're slowly working through and taking people out.
Yeah.
And at the moment, small people like me, small channels like mine, they're not that interested in, because most of the harassment I get from them is stuff that's been in there since I started, because of the way I used to put videos out then.
Yeah, you just won't get promoted unless the larger channel puts your link in or says go and visit Roger's site or what have you. You will not get promoted in the algorithm. They know. They know you.
Honest,
they know.
I don't mind, because I've never wanted an absolute huge channel, because I know the amount of work that's involved.
I thought you were going to say that. You want to keep it small, discreet, and amongst friends. No theatre, no fucking stupid and shit like that. I understand.
You know, we're all the like-minded people, or most people are around the sort of same ideas as I get, and around my thoughts and opinions. And this is why I run the live streams, especially on Zero Tolerance, because I can't be doing with the drama. And as you've seen in the chat, in the comments and that, I like to keep in touch with everybody that comments. You know, I'll always answer a comment, because I see us as a community, not just thousands of people online. You know, I've never wanted a big channel, and I've had offers of being promoted, and I have looked at ways of promoting the channel, but I'd rather keep it reasonably small, learn to do more with it. But you know, because I do go out on other channels as well. So, good evening, Russell. The river proudly pure, and yeah, I'd love to see them down at the river. You know, cleansing the soul. Yeah, keep going. But no, it's a lot of work. Even running a small channel like this, it can be a lot of work at times, and it does take up a lot of your time. But I like the way this one works. It's working out how I wanted it to. Sometimes it can be a bit boring. Sometimes I do come out with a lot of shit, but then everybody does, even the best of them. Dan will be back. At the moment, unless his plans change, he intends to do a live stream
14th.
On the 14th of this month, where he will explain what's been going on, what's happening. It's not him. Don't worry. But he will be back himself. He's going to endeavour to go live on that Sunday, the 14th. Commitments, Janet's first getting on. Yeah, that does happen in a lot of places, Missy. I've known campsites that have built lodges and tapped into the system and stuff like that, especially the sewerage unofficially, because obviously they get charged extra for that. But at least it's not as bad as some countries where if you want a little bit of power, you got to risk your life and go out and throw a couple of wires over the main wires through the village, you know. Dan's having a sex change. Thank you, Holly. That's just giving me a horrible vision. Horrible, horrible vision. Sorry, love. I just go because I tend to neglect the chat.
Yeah, mate. I beg it off to make a brew. I'm away from Mike for a couple of minutes. Listening.
No worries. Did you change it to Sam Smith? Well, he'd already started with the hair, Matt. When it was just coming through and wispy, you could see a slight resemblance there. Change his name to Danielle. Oh, I hope he's not listening to this tonight. He could well be lurking somewhere in the background there. Good evening, lurkers, by the way.
And Dan.
And Dan, yeah. I know you're not all there for nefarious reasons. Don't worry. I do know there are people that just like to listen.
We don't want to miss it, but they're busy doing something else as well.
But for those, hang on, so I'm going to lose the chat here a bit. Where are we?
You would never be fired, Holly. He loves you far too much.
For those that didn't see it in the video in the week. Oh, there we go. Me in me wedding and funeral camouflage outfit. Trying to blend in.
I call it the match, hatch, and dispatch clause. The only time you'll ever see me in a suit. Well,
that's the only time I put one on, mate.
Yeah.
And I got the choice of two. One fits usually, and the other one doesn't. Sometimes, if I've eaten too much, it's reverse.
He made sure he took a photo of himself, but didn't take one of me.
No, I didn't get any close-ups of you. We'll have to wait for the family.
Didn't take a picture of me.
Oh, you're
on the video.
I got you on the video.
You did not take one single picture of me.
I can show the one of you that I clipped. Where are we? Was it that one? Yeah.
I've got to wait for Daz to get his photos over because he took over 500. And he started off at 7:30 with me outside having a fag.
There we go. That's Mrs. W in the background there.
The girl that put my hair up, Jenny, was a miracle worker. I never thought it would look like that.
See, I'm getting quicker at doing this. I know, Holly. I was... I'd set 3 video cameras up. Unfortunately, 2 of them were more or less pointing in the same direction, but we got 2 different qualities of sound and picture off of them. With what Heather's been editing up, she's managed to overlay the 2 perfectly. The other one was just pointing at the people in the pews.
I've got to do all that again because you were telling me to close it down and deleted it, and I deleted all my hard work. So I've got to start all over again. Yeah,
I know, Holly. I mean, the camera I've got isn't the best one. And I always use it on automatic, which makes it worse.
He doesn't suck as a photographer, Holly. He sucks
But-
as my old man.
but you got thank you. But you know, I was there as part of the wedding entourage, not just a photographer, and that's why I set the video cameras up, because I knew the quality would be good enough to take screenshots on it. Especially as I'm finding more and more now I can do with the editor. I haven't posted that one on Facebook, have I? Or did Donna?
You posted it under another comment,
Uh,
so it's not easy to find.
yeah, but it is hard, Holly, when you got to turn your camera around like that. I did think about doing a selfie, but then I forgot I had my other phone in my pocket because I had it on silent, obviously, because of the church.
He watched me walk down the aisle as the first one of the procession.
Yes, all right. That's why they got the professional fucking photographer, innit? You've got plenty of better ones coming from there.
No, Daz loved me as a. He took hundreds of me.
He took hundreds of everybody.
He made sure the camera was working by taking photos of me.
Well, he was just doing his job, wasn't he? You know? That's what they get paid for. But in looking at it, I should have bought the video cameras a bit further forward so they looked up the church as well, or at least one of them did. But it's the first time I've done it. So. But when you're part of the proceedings as well, it's hard to put everything together, as it were, especially when you got a mind that forgets things like mine. Put Mrs. W in the cupboard.
No, put you in the cupboard.
Now, to be honest, we don't usually take a lot of pictures of each other ourselves. She has took some very funny ones of me on holiday. But
you
yeah,
don't reach for a camera when you've got a man with a camera taking pictures of you.
Yeah, but some of the ones you took on holiday are better than the ones I took.
Well, most of them are.
Oh, I can't stand small places, Holly. But yeah, it was a good bit of fun. I mean, the hotel was expensive on the drinks. I mean, fuck me, £4 for a glass of Coke. That was the last drink I bought.
Bloody hell.
I ended up drinking the water out the jars that were on the table.
Did you set the flowers out first?
Yeah, no, they were proper water jugs. But I did manage to break one as I went to the bar to get it refilled. I didn't have my glasses on. And I thought the bar was further away from me than it was. And I went to lift it up on it and just totally smashed it on the bottom of the bar.
Oh, dear.
But, you know, there was free beer as you walked in. There was some bottled beer there, but I don't drink. So.
There was orange juice, but that was no good.
Yeah, that was the extent of my photography, Beardy. You know, it is all well and good taking pictures in the church, but then you got to deal with the smoke afterwards. But when we get the other pictures through, I know there'll be some nice ones on there. I think the only ones we had stood together was the group ones, wasn't it?
Yes, Darren probably got us.
Oh, that's right. We can do a royal. We can Photoshop some out of it. That's something I've got to learn all about. Because actually tomorrow, I've got a couple of notes there. Well, a couple of fucking pages on it, actually, of what AI could mean for us, but looking from a slightly different angle to it. But I won't report you if seeing Mrs. W dragged. I can make my own flash powder, Beardy. It's not that hard. I think the last time I tried to do anything like that with smoke, it came out purple. But that was something to do with the wax crayons that I'd melted into the mixture. I won't go onto that in here because
No.
YouTube rules say you're not allowed to say how to do things like that anymore. Although there are still videos up of it. But
I was going to say there's probably a video out there.
I know you say you're on Facebook, but after about 10 years, I decided to actually set up a Facebook account, and I'm just actually going through my inbox today. I thought I'd given them all the information that they required, and now they've suspended my account again. And I was only got on the very same day that I actually set up an account, and I was accepted into 2 coin collector groups. What the hell do you have to get? Do they want you inside leg measurement? I don't want to give out too much private information.
I had no problem getting on there, and they haven't thrown me off yet. I have copied or posted some, shall I say, stuff that they didn't like, that they restricted, but
they want me to upload a photograph that clearly shows my face. Make sure it isn't blurry. Don't include other people in the shot. Now, considering that it's a coin collectors group, there's reasons why you want to preserve your anonymity. I don't want people to know what I look like on my dress.
All the groups, they can set their own rules on what they accept and what they want. That's nothing to do with Facebook.
It's not the groups, it's Facebook itself. Like I said, 2 groups have filled in their information that they require, and they've accepted me. Although I've not posted a comment or a reply to anything yet, I've just been looking at what other people are throwing out.
I've never had to send them a picture of my face since I've been on it.
I'll just send them a picture of anybody. I don't know, Lord Lucan or somebody. How the hell would they know?
You know, it's a bit pointless when there's people that can set up accounts using somebody else's picture.
But once again, I don't want people to know where I live on account of the fact I've got some rare coins that I've inherited. For obvious reasons, security reasons. What's the stop somebody figuring out where I live and coming in, kicking my door down, holding a gun to me head and saying, right, we want that fucking coin that you've got.
You're a marked woman in there, Holly, you are.
Unbelievable.
You're the queen of Facebook jail. No wonder they won't let you open another account.
Yeah, but Holly, how many accounts have you actually got?
I've lost count.
Sorry, I'll deal with that later. I can't be arsed now. I'm multitasking.
My second account under the cat's name, I hadn't used it in ages, and when I came to use that, I couldn't remember the password, so I clicked reset, and they went, no, you haven't used it for so long. We want photo ID. I cannot get photo ID for the cat.
Good grief.
5. Yeah, I have been close to it, I think, but I've never had Facebook jail. Even though I have copied and pasted or shared some stuff that other people have been taken down for and put in jail, I managed to stay away. But there again, I've only got one profile on there. The only place I've got more than one is on YouTube, actually, because I had the backup account for when I got suspended. Now, that reminds me, I must post something on that. Otherwise, they'll be pulling that one down through non-use. I could post some pictures of the video or the video of the wedding on there.
I'll just upload any old generic photograph of a male adult human being and see if they can actually cross-reference it and figure out it's not me. Oh, I'll just find a legit. I can just put it in chat. I've got some family photos. My dad's been dead 20 years. I'll use a picture of my dad in his national service.
How are they going to verify a picture of you? They can't, can they? So
just any old picture up there.
Yeah.
I mean, me Twitter and my Rumble accounts have got me as Loaf of Sheffield. I'm using the same avatar, the evolution barcode. So, you know.
Yeah, I just I mean, there was a video put up, a short one I don't know when it was actually posted. I only saw it today. Of the police in London telling somebody he couldn't put his mask up because he was in an area where they've got facial recognition cameras.
Oh, the irony. What was everybody wearing 2 years ago?
Yeah. But
Good.
as a member of the public stepped in and told the police, is there a law that says you don't have to cover your face, or that you can cover your face, or
Well, it's
whatever?
just simple. Just self-identify as a trans woman, Muslim
No,
woman,
what
wear a
the
burqa or
police-
something. You know what I mean? You get away with
What
that.
the police are confusing is there is a law in place where at certain times for certain things they can require you to remove your face coverings, but it's not actually in force in the general public. They have to put it in force like an exclusion order, and it's designed to be used around protests, not just uncovering people in the street. They've no right to ask you to uncover your face in the street unless they've arrested you for something and they're trying to identify you. They've got no other reason to ask. So, and as the bloke said, well, yeah, learn the law and walk away from it now. And the police had no option. They did. They knew they were in the wrong, so they just walked away. No apologies, no nothing. It's yeah, it's all getting very 1984-ish, as I say.
Oh, that sounds ominous. Have you read it? I've read it about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I've read the book. I've got the book in the drawer here. Seen several versions of the film.
Yeah.
The new version is very good.
There's another new one. The last one I saw was John Hurt and
Yeah, that's the one. That's the
yeah,
latest.
yeah.
It's not available on YouTube yet, although the old original one is in black and white and colorized. But I've got a CD, a DVD, the latest one. And I found it a couple of years ago for Christmas for me.
I haven't read Brave New World yet. Apparently, what we're entering into is a cross between 1984 and Brave New World.
I tell you, it's going to be a cross between 1984 and the fucking Hunger Games.
Yeah, well, I'm reading a book at the moment by an author called Lionel Shriver. It's a bit of a funny name. It's an androgynous name because the author's a woman. It's Lionel Shriver. It's a woman. It's called The Mandibles. It's about the massive overburdening of debt in America. And it's where America becomes basically a poor country where even people with assets become poor overnight. And the middle class become poor overnight. And they don't want to get into a new worldwide banking system dominated by the Russians and the Chinese. Called the book, they call it the Bancor. I think what they're trying to set up at the moment is the BRICS nations.
Well, there's a video that was posted less than a couple of hours ago by Jeff Taylor, setting out how things could go with a digital-only currency in this country with a centralized bank. And he put it very well. I wish I'd have saved the link now. I'd put it up.
Well, it won't work. I'll tell you why. Because all these idiots that go around waving the phones in front of, scanners when they're going buying the pasties and the sausage rolls. The Greggs system went down in London last week, and you couldn't buy a sausage roll unless you had cash.
No,
you couldn't.
There was a lot of retail outlets hit. It was
Mackie D's.
The reason we worked out for it, Mackie D's, was it Sainsbury's or Morrison's? Sainsbury's. The couple of days before that, there was a big update on Windows. A big update, whether it covered businesses and that as well, whatever they use how they use their computers, I don't know.
If they're using Windows, it would affect them.
If they were using Windows, it could well have been that triggered it all if they didn't have certain things in place. Yeah, that's the thing, Missy. This is what we're saying. they put these hate speech laws and stuff in place where, yeah, technically, even as you say, some jokes could be misconstrued that way if people took offense to them. And it's simply because they don't look at context. Good evening, Michael. We've seen this on many a time before. YouTube and the social media platforms are the absolute worst ones for it because simply they've got bots that just pick up words, not context. This is one of the things with AI.
So you can't use our slang for a cigarette.
No.
Yeah.
Or a bundle of sticks.
Yeah. Well, I quite often say I'm going to have a fag. And YouTube did pull me up for it and asked me to remove it at one point, quite some time ago this was. And I pointed out to them that it is a regularly used British slang word for a cigarette that's been used for hundreds of years. Well, not hundreds of years, but historically. And now they got back to me and said, yes, but it's not really acceptable. I said, but the Americans can call a cigarette a smoke. Now, if someone tells me they're going for a smoke, it means they're going to go and take some cannabis, whatever. That's what I call a smoke. I said, so are you going to ban that word as well?
You know, Winston, the destruction of words is a beautiful thing. That's a line.
They're good.
That's a line from a very well-known book.
Yeah, it's that they've destroyed societies, they've destroyed the language, and now we're seeing the very destruction of our own way of life here. And it's never going to go back to what it was. It's never going to get changed to anything better. I just, like I said last week, I don't know where this is fucking headed because the government don't seem to give a shit. They're not doing anything about it. All the police are interested in is taking sides with the smallest minority because they're the easiest ones to handle. I mean, they proved that again, didn't they? Where they arrested one of the pro-Palestinian protesters and they got enough people round the van and threatened the police and they had to release them. Yeah. But it's got to a point where society is not far off breaking down from what I see. The lies that are coming out from them, like the cost of living now, they say, oh, the economy's on the up, interest rates are going down. No,
they're not.
Prices are still going up way too fast.
Yeah.
And the big one they used, oh, we've reduced the price cap on energy, thinking you're going to save money. Well, most of the energy suppliers don't charge anywhere near the original price cap. They charge a lot more than they used to, but most people don't pay up to that price cap. So bringing it down ain't going to make any difference. They've still got a cushion to put the prices up. What's happening here? Yes,
well,
banking
that's the point,
system
darling.
collapsing.
You need to take those meter readings just in case.
Well, we've got the gas inspector coming tomorrow, so I'll get a reading then and we need to take a picture of the electricity meter.
Are you actually getting somebody to come to read your meter at your property?
Not read the meter, it's the annual gas inspection.
Gas safety
inspection. Yeah. But while he's in there, because I deliberately, where the meters are, that's where the cat litter tray is.
Oh, right.
If it was one of the energy companies, I'd be very tempted to just leave it in there under his nose while he's working. But no, they're everybody. Well, they didn't advise people. Other people advised people to take meter readings on the day on the 1st of April. Because they will try and overcharge you for some that you've used before the price rise. Because it won't go down. It will be going up.
It always changes our supplier. She always shops around for the best deal every year. It's the same with the car insurance. You'd think that if you've got 10, 15 years with an insurer, they'd actually cut you some slack because, oh, you're a regular customer, we'll give you a discount. They don't. They give a discount to get on board new customers. This is why people shop around every year for their insurance. Well, obviously water you can't, but you get your gas and your electric off. You can do, but they were overcharging us. They never even bothered to send anybody around to read the gas or the lecky meter and on boxes on the driveway. You know, you could just walk up the drive, open up your box, take a meter reading, and beg.
This is what they're doing.
They never did it. They never used to do it, and they deliberately overestimated our consumption. So I got my missus to ring them up and say, get them to give us a rebate. And the missus said, no, they'll just hold it in specie, in credit, and just take it off our next reading. I said, well, what happens if the tariff or the rate per kilowatt hour or per cubic meter of gas goes up? We're actually going to be paying in advance. I said, no, you pay for what you consume, get a rebate on it, woman.
A neighbour of mine was complaining he couldn't get a rebate from whichever company he was with. And I said, go back to, because he was on standing order. And I said, go back to billing, quarterly billing, because they can't stop you. And at that point, they have to give you a rebate if you're in credit. You can then go back to your monthly standing order.
Well, this is why they wanted everybody to have the smart meters, and they didn't realise that there would be such a kickback about it, simply because people were looking and see what was involved in them, not just with what they can control, but the actual dangers of some of them as well, which I did a video of. Drone, good evening. But we've always said no smart meters. They came to the door, advertising with the smart meters and sent them away with a flea in their ear as well. You know, you will be forced. I said, well, fine. You want to force us? We'll just change supplier. I said, because there's no law that says you have to have them. Although I dare say that will change in the near future if certain people get back in power. But
while the old meters are working, we should be okay.
But basically, you can say whatever they tell you, the opposite is going to happen. Same as Sunak, we're stopping the boats. No, you ain't. There's more and more coming.
That's the tip of the iceberg. Net migration. There's an awful lot more people coming. Those people floating across are a minuscule compared with the people that they're allowing in.
Well, one actually used the excuse the other day, no, there's a lot less boats coming across the channel. And I said, yes, there are less boats, but the boats that are coming are holding a lot more people because they're all the big inflatable ones now that are being specially made to carry 60, 70 people at a time. Very badly made as well. But the amount that's coming now on these big ones, the government said it yesterday, there is going to be another tragedy in the channel. And there will be a lot more lives lost. I might be wrong in saying it, but I'm not going to cry over it because they're putting themselves at risk. And if anybody's to blame for it, it's the French for letting them leave. You know, there's one thing defending your borders, but there's also borders that are supposed to prevent that sort of thing. That's what they're there for. But obviously, they know who they are, what they're like, and they're quite happy to let them leave. One the other day, it was followed on the radar, and they actually escorted a boat off the French beaches, and it was only, I think it was 3 miles off the beach. They saw it launch and waited 3 miles off to pick it up and then escort it to the middle of the channel. So if that's what they call stopping them. There was even, I think, again, it was on the Revs channel, recording of the so-called radio chatter with the French skipper actually arranging the handover with the British skipper of the border force vessel. And then he can stand there on the same day in the house or whatever and say, we're stopping the boats, when every bit of evidence shows it's not. So, they
And
just
then
lie through their
Sky
teeth.
reports record numbers.
Yeah, at exactly the same time as he was saying it.
Going back to your annual service, do you rent your house?
Yeah, it's a council.
So you've got to have a gas safety check every year.
Yeah.
How old's you? Have you got a gas boiler?
Yeah, we got a boiler. It's just for the heating and water. That's it. We cook with electric. So.
Right. So basically, how old is the boiler? Is he going to actually do a service of the boiler, or is he just going to do a standard safety check?
No, they don't do a service. They just do a standard safety check. That's all he does. It's an independent contractor.
Because when the guy actually came up our driveway, we got a proximity alarm and it beeps to alert me that somebody's walking up behind me, creeping up. And usually the wife trying to figure out what I'm getting up to in my man cave. But it beeps, and I saw this bloke and he says, I've come to read your meters. I said, oh, okay, off you go. I said, he went to gas meter and I said, are you here to check that it's got electrical earth continuity bonding and the isolation valve falls to the off position and the handle's been taken off and blah, 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 and it looks like it's not been tampered with. He says, no, I'm just here to get the meter reading just to figure out how much you're actually declaring consumption-wise. So I said, so safety isn't an issue. You're all looking to make money. You're interested in the safety. Thank you very much.
That there, Beardy. What he's actually doing, he's working out a deal. It's with the Europeans. It's not just young non-UK citizens. It's Europeans that want to come here, that he wants to allow 4 million of them in. If he gets them in now, I mean, by the time they'd get anything arranged and coming through, that won't make any difference on the election anyway. But with what we've got coming in already, that's just going to sink Labour further and further down the ratings coming out with that. Same list as wood burners. Yeah, that's the trouble, Joan. I talked about that before, how the restrictions on log burners and that have come into force.
Oh, it's a bit cracking, because the Drax on Umber, around about 40 miles away from I am at the moment, they're burning wood pellets to generate steam to drive electrical turbines. So when the National Grid can burn wood pellets imported from Canada and North America, it's all right for them to do it. But if you've got a wood log burner in your back garden, you sat out having a few beers of a summer's evening or a spring evening, they'll come round and shut you down and fine you.
Yeah. There's still places in the country, as we know, that they rely on their log burners for heating and hot water. And yes, Matt, Guy Fawkes, we need you, lad. Absolutely. If anybody's Holly, you're into voodoo. If you're still there, can you resurrect him? He might find it a bit easier today because he won't have to lug barrels of black powdery stuff about. He can just have a couple of backpacks.
What's this crap here about if you don't want to vote, but you go around and you deliberately spoil your ballot, it's still got to be counted? Do they count them in different ways? If it's
no. Any ballot that has been disfigured, hasn't been filled out in the proper way will not be counted.
It will be counted as a spoiled paper.
Yeah, but it'll be counted. It won't be counted as a vote, but it will be counted as a spoiled vote.
What if you write none of the above, or say I do not consent? Will that be counted as somebody a dissenting view, or would that be just considered as a spoiled ballot?
That'll just be considered as a spoiled vote.
They don't care what you put on it. If it's not a tick in the box, it's a spoiled vote,
and it
will be counted to see how many people did it.
Because I'm going to deliberately spoil it.
What I'm going to look at in particular is any numbers or identification on any of the paperwork they show. And in particular, what they do with the details off your photo ID. because as far as I'm concerned, all they've got to see is my name and picture. They don't need any other details off of it. So they can have a look at my driving license, but I will not be handing it to them.
They might want to compare address.
But if there's any, I shall look on the voting slip and I shall look on the other bits of paper. And if there's any two bits of paper that have got the same serial number or identification mark on them, that's an individual, because obviously I'll have a look at Heather's as well. If it's on all of them and it's identical, that's fine. But if they're different, then that is an identification mark, and I won't be doing anything on it other than what you just said, Loafer.
Yeah.
But I think most people, they're gonna vote tactically and defensively, because there's no party out there that has got the complete package that anybody wants. So people are just going to vote against the ones they can't stand, which would be classed as a tactical vote.
I can't stand any of them.
No, but you know,
I think we all need to vote for one of the other parties. Not saying that they'll get in, but
or they've even got the clout to run the country
if
properly.
everybody votes for one of the other parties, it will stop the Tories or the Labour getting in.
But that's the thing with all the other little parties, you ain't going to get any of them that are going to get enough to actually hoist
You just
the big
might.
two.
You never know.
Yeah, there is an outside chance, but but this is a problem. Like Tony just said, he won't vote for more bullshit. Exactly, mate. But who do you vote for? Because don't forget, if nobody actually voted, it would come down to the parties voting for themselves.
I'm going to vote. I want my country back.
Which still would give one party the majority, which gives them the right to rule the country. This is the thing with people that say they're not going to vote at all, is they don't realise that they're not doing a lot of good into the system that way, because you're just letting...
You will never change anything.
No. Although I've always said if the vote really counted, they wouldn't give it you.
If it is real and it does make a difference, then you need to vote to make the difference. Not voting just means that the person that's round here, it's Conservative. And I always thought, what's the point? Conservative always win. But if I don't show that I don't want them to win, and neither does anybody else in the area, they're going to win hands down.
But, Drone, this is what I've always said. It doesn't matter what party gets in, but they need to listen to the people and what the people are telling them and what they want from them, rather than dictating to the people what they're going to give them. They need to start taking notice of us. And this has always been the issue. Once they get in power, they think they can do what they want. And it doesn't matter which party it is.
Exactly, Berda.
There's something going around on my Twitter feed at the moment. 0 seats for the Conservatives. They want the catastrophic destruction of the Conservative Party. They've been in rule now for 14 years and have not done anything. They've not rolled back any of the legislation that was introduced by Tony Blair during his nine or 11 years. Cameron was exactly the same. I'm continuing Labour's legacy. He was the same. He was got an how many different PMs? Non-elected.
Was actually posted on Facebook as well. It was one of
the
Patriots.
0 seats.
Yeah.
There's that old-fashioned, God-bothering, traditional Conservative Peter Hitchens. He says that the Labour Party and the Conservative Party are like two corpses, each one propping the other up. It only needs one to fail catastrophically, and it will bring the other rotten corpse down along with it. 0 seats. He said even if it means 2 terms of a Labour government, it has to be done. That's what Peter Hitchens reckons. And I read that a few years ago, and I thought, well, it's coming true now. People are waking up, perhaps.
Oh, what's that? Vote LSP for Prime Minister. Yeah. Yes, Missy, I did get that message. No worries, darling. You take care. Gordon Brittas, we've got him there in the list. Yes, Drone. You know, as I was just saying, that's the biggest problem with the governments today is they don't listen to their people. And I mean, the Conservatives would have done a lot better if they'd have just even took notice and did some of the things we were saying. But they haven't. They took a bright bit of notice. Sunak has turned into a dictator who just wants to line his own pockets. And
He's
by
always
allowing
been
him
like
to
that.
have his strings pulled, then he's getting what he wants. Go on, then.
Sorry, but Sunak hasn't turned into anything. He's always
No,
been like that.
It's been a long time since any government has worked for the people.
Did you see that embarrassing question that Sunak had to field off by somebody? It said, "Doesn't your wife have significant shares in a Russian company?" Blah blah blah. And doesn't that
Yeah.
And he just pretended he didn't know anything about his wife's business dealings.
And apparently she's also got dealings in a big tech company that they've just done a big deal with or awarded a contract to.
And on the other side of the aisles, we've got the ginger growler, Auntullah, and all that shenanigans about renting out a council house or something.
It wasn't the renting out of it. It was the fact that she sold it for a profit.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that was only bought up deliberately originally by her to try and say, look, I come from humble beginnings. I crawled myself out and bought my council house and what have you. But the biggest thing was the way she'd done it, because she avoided paying capital gains tax on it.
Mm.
That was the big point, not the fact that she sold it. There is a time stipulation that if you do buy your house, are you finished out there now? That's fucking cold with that window open. If you actually buy your house off the council, then you're not allowed to sell it on or rent it out for a certain number of years, which she'd expired. She was quite legally allowed to sell it.
My mum and dad bought their council house.
It was a tax avoidance that they picked up on.
My mum and dad's council house were bought in 1936, and when my dad moved in 1936, when he were about 7 or 8 year old, it was the first house. They actually had an indoor toilet and electric light. Their old house before that had gas light. And now they bought it off the council in 1984. And it was only when my mum died like 2 years ago that obviously me and my brother sold it. So obviously they bought it in 1984. She died in 2022. So obviously
we moved into a brand new council house actually but that was when the council lists weren't full. Although I did get told that we did wait a couple of years for it, because they were actually waiting to put people in the new estate. It was out in a little village. Now, we were in there for quite a few years, and all of a sudden the right to buy came up, and my parents decided they were going to buy it. And it was that bad back then. I was only a young lad, but I remember I'd been working for a couple of years, and I emptied my savings and cashed my insurance in and everything I had so they could afford the deposit on the mortgage. And but yeah, I never got anything back out of that, simply because everything was left to my sister. But that's another story. But my grand's place, I mean, there's God knows how many grandchildren there is of this. But her bungalow she bought new. I think they said she paid, I think it was 500 and odd pound for the place, and it was a big bungalow with a lot of land around it, back and front, and that sold for over 400,000 after she went. So, what a property is going to be worth now? You know, when these kids pass them on to their grandkids that have actually afforded to buy one nowadays, what are they going to be worth then? Not a lot more than they would be now. But I think they're heading to get everybody out of their own property into government provided property, in the ways of bringing in a dystopian society. I've always believed that's going to happen at some point, where you will actually live in your domicile where you're told, you will eat what you're told to eat, you will work where you're told to work, and you will be happy.
Well, what's the threshold, the lower threshold now for capital gains tax on the sale of property?
I
think
have no idea, mate. I haven't sold one for years.
if the price of property is artificially inflated by not building new stock and importing millions of people a year, or about 900,000 a year net immigration, if they're not building any properties, then it's artificially inflating the assets. You know, it's laws of supply and demand. If something is limited in supply, but it's in high demand, then the price goes up. Simple. You can't buck that system. So basically, if you bought your council house and you and your missus were like working low middle class, what have you, when you've eventually cark it and you want to pass it on to your kids, if the threshold for capital gains tax on assets held in property is a low thing, but then your house actually goes into that threshold, it means your kids are actually paying tax on something that you've worked hard for all your life to bequeath to them. And automatically the state is taking a fucking cut.
It's the inheritance tax. But what they don't tell you, now, when my gran died, in her will, one of the sons, who always lived with her, never got married. Now, he was allowed to stay in the house and the property was to stay in the family, you know, under her name, even though she's deceased, unless he married, at which point he would have to either sell the property or pay out the beneficiaries to the amount of the property at the time that was the people that it was left to in the will once he went. Now, at the time, we found out, and this isn't widely known, a lot of people don't know this one, but you can actually take an insurance out against the inheritance tax. Now, it's a paltry amount, or I don't know what it is now, but back then, all us grandkids, bear in mind there's well over 20, 25 of us, I think it is, probably even more, we all agreed to pay this insurance when my gran died. So when that bungalow was eventually sold off, we would not have to pay any inheritance tax. Now, at the time, we all paid a tenner to have this insurance put in place as individuals. Some didn't, they lost out through it. Now, it turned out we all got well over 10 grand out of the sale when my uncle did die and the place did have to be sold. But we didn't have to pay any inheritance tax because this insurance had covered it.
Mm.
Now, that's something that you don't often see advertised. I will be honest, I don't even know if those policies are still available. But that's the way we got round it back then, and we didn't pay a penny of inheritance tax.
Well, you only need it if you're in that situation as well.
Yeah, they have put the threshold up where but it's wrong that you should be taxed on something that you've paid tax on. Everything you've gone into it, you've paid tax on.
Well, we pay tax on everything again and again and again and again. You pay tax on earnings. You pay tax on anything you buy. You pay tax when you sell it.
If you can find a workaround or a loophole or some area of legislation that will actually allow you to save money in the long run, intergenerational debt, intergenerational savings, pass it on without any paying any inheritance tax, then you've got to consider it. It's something that you've got to consider. I mean, if there's a workaround that exists, it's normally for those people, the elites can have an army of tax advisors and accountants and legislation, and actually push for legislation and put it through the courts and everything to actually benefit them. And if they're at it, well, why shouldn't we, the minions,
Yeah,
the knuckle dragging lower classes, why shouldn't we be able to benefit from it?
That we all know there's extra benefits out there that people can claim for those that are on benefits, but they're not widely publicized because they don't want people applying for them.
Yeah.
I mean, there was allegedly, I will say allegedly, I've never proved it. I have seen some evidence that points that way, but it's evidence that can be faked quite easily, that the DWP staff were getting rewarded for turning people down for benefits. And we know with the PIP situation, they're advertising now that, oh yeah, the payments are going up drastically. But what they're not saying is virtually every application is rejected from the word go. The only way you'll get any of it is by keep appealing. You know, if it's a benefit that's available for the people, then yeah, they should be telling people how to get it, but they won't, because they know the wrong uns know how to do it, but it penalises those that need it.
Yeah, but the wrong uns are the ones that know how to claim it.
Michael, none of us have heard from Sian for a while. We do know that people disappear off social media for various reasons, whether they're just taking a break. I've done it myself, but yes, Sian has gone MIA. She hasn't been in Discord. I haven't seen her on Facebook, and I certainly haven't seen her anywhere on YouTube. So, and I've got no contact details for her either.
We've spoken to her since the farmers' market in Cardiff. It may just be work patterns.
Yeah, she does have some strange work patterns. Yeah, she is. She's a lovely girl, Michael. She was always active in the channel. She probably will get back to us at some point. But, you know, maybe she just needed a break. As I say, I've had it at times where the internet just gets too much. And to be honest, that's what I did over the weekend. With the wedding coming up from Friday onwards, basically, I was hardly on there. Yeah, Beardy, there's not a lot of people get in there now. I mean, Lakutas, whoever he is basically just using off topic as his own private channel by the looks of things. But it doesn't get used a lot. Yeah, Boyley, exactly. It's a detox from it at times. And I didn't want a lot of the stuff hanging on in my head while I was trying to concentrate on the wedding. Although I did have some funny exchanges with, I think it was the church usher. Both of us taking the piss out of religion, funny enough. But she was a bit of a laugh. But yeah, some people take a step back. I mean, Dan's done it himself for a while. Ollie's done it. And you just need that break now and again. But as Heather said, Sian does have some very weird, strange work patterns, and she does move around for her work as well.
Yeah, I'm not really certain, but I know she'll say, I've got to go, I'm up early, or just got back from work, and things like that. Not 9 to 5.
If any of you guys out there that are in direct contact with her through DM or anything, next time you're talking to her, just get her to drop a comment or something. Let us know that she's okay.
I think she's on my DM list on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't do Twitter or anything like that. It's
Be nice to know she's okay.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to know she's okay, being as she was part of the community on both here and Dan's.
Well, it also looks bad if you go, no, it's because she's worked silly hours and find she got arrested or attacked or.
Well, she's normally in the Rev streams as well, and I haven't seen her in there for a while.
The
Yeah.
problem is you don't know whether to reach out and say hello. People are worried because at the end of the day, you don't know whether she's going to take
Well,
it.
this is it.
Kind of
People
prior
come
or
and go on here all the time,
Yeah, but you see, Loafer, I'd reach out and I'd say, is everything okay? People are missing you.
Okay.
Yeah, Beardy, Dan was considering doing away with that server. But he was going to have a think about it because it doesn't get used.
I need a drink. Do you want anything, please?
No, I'm fine, thanks. I just
Yes, I know you didn't.
I got one.
Didn't ask you to get me one.
But
while you were out.
unfortunately, people, it doesn't look like I'm going to last much past 9 o'clock tonight. I will keep going for a while.
Your
Yeah.
eyes closing.
Yeah,
I'm going to get the beer 15 minutes early.
my eyes are screwing around here. Hello,
You want
what's
some
this?
chocolate?
Oh no, thank you.
Curses
I've,
are
I've had more than enough chocolate this week.
just nipping to get a pint pot out of house.
Yeah, no worries, mate. No, it's just the last few days it's taken out of me. And come on, what's this? Oh, it's a picture my mate sent me on WhatsApp. But even my bloody phone's not playing the game now. It's WhatsApp important new feature app. Okay. Don't know what that's about. But it won't let me see it on there. So, but no, it's not just age. It's the fatigue and everything. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's non-existent. But it's usually my eyes were going a little bit then. They start to go out of focus, which usually means it's starting. So I'll give it till 9 o'clock and see how I feel then. For those that noticed, I have had a few ciggies tonight. Yes, I have. I just needed a couple over the weekend, and I did get a small packet, but it is a small packet. And that one you've been seeing me smoke, that's been being smoked over an hour or so, just the odd drag. So. Oh, can we say drag now? Or is that a banned word as well? Let's find out. Drag. Drag racing. Again, RuPaul Drag Racing, that stupid program that's on the TV. There's drag racing in cars. So what are they going to do with that? If that becomes an illegal word, we won't be able to talk about drag racing. I know I'm naughty veteran. I did try to get Police Scotland riled up with a few comments yesterday in the video, but I ain't heard nothing. So, but basically, if they're not going after Rowley, Rowlings, they're not going to come after me, are they? I'm just a naughty little boy sat in the corner. A very grumpy one at times.
There's a certain person in Scotland that is absolutely making a big deal out of this. Let's see if anybody, I'll see if I can do the impersonation. Let's see if anybody can figure out who it is, especially in the chat. My girlfriend is always ranting and raving about how cute and adorable her wee dog is. So I thought I'd turn it into the most deplorable thing I could think of, which is a Nazi.
That's probably the worst Scottish accent I've heard.
He's
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not going to even attempt one because mine's worse than that.
Marcus Meek and Count Dankula, he's having a lot of fun with this new bill. I'm telling you, he's having a lot of fun.
There's a lot of people there. A lot of people. I mean, it's one of the most ridiculous ones they've tried to bring in. And it was obvious the reason that he wanted to bring it in. But I think that alone is going to cause his downfall now. I mean, he's already gone in hiding, hasn't he? Glass cider, please, miss. Oh, you seen her getting a drink from behind, did you? Yeah, it's a joke. It is an absolute joke. When when the police turn around and say we're going to knock down more serious crimes that we're not going to look into all of those reports. That's fucking crazy, man. But we know the government here would love to have something like that, but because Sunak has spoke out against it now.
Yeah, but he's on his way out. Starmer, what Starmer said.
Well, from what I'm seeing with Starmer, I mean, the Labour Party are in as much danger of splitting up and destroying themselves as the Tories are at the moment.
Good.
Especially with the kicking up now about the Union flag.
Emily Thornberry's done a 180. You remember when she put that tweet out, the white van man with the two St. George's crosses, and disparaging tweet? Now, she got caught in a moment on cam because the Labour Party are trying to readopt the Union flag. After this
is what they're moaning about, is the flag is too prevalent. They're using it too much. And there is actually people working in the Labour Party that are refusing to touch the leaflets because of the amount of Union flags on them.
Oh, good grief.
So they're turning against Starmer for that. They lost, 11 of their people said they were giving up their seats and walking away. Some were defecting to Reform. Others were going elsewhere. But they've actually lost, at the last look I saw, I think they've lost 24,000 members of the Labour Party over it. They're just walking away from them in their thousands, same as the Tories are. It's going to be a big shuffle around because all these people are looking for positions either before or just after the next election. And I think a lot of them are going to sit back, see who wins, and then decide where they're going to go. But I think in the local elections in May, everybody's predicting that the Tories are going to absolutely crash. I'm not so sure. That's the way the polls seem to push it. But Labour's just as bad. I mean, Birmingham. I mean, look at the fucking mess of this place. The whole of the West Midlands going to change their voting tactics. It's going to be very hard, especially now we've got what is basically a lot bigger Muslim vote. This is going to be where people are going to be voting with religion as well, not just of what the parties want or what they're saying. A lot of them will vote on the religious side of it or because of religion.
George Galloway's thrown a spanner into the works with the Rochdale by-election.
He's thrown a spanner into the works wholesale because he doesn't buy into any of it.
There's a certain part of me respects him for it, even though I don't agree with his issues with regarding the current malaise in the Middle East. Honestly, at the end of the day, how does it affect me? It affects me and it affects everybody because of the prices, because of the world economics, the things that are going on in the Middle East. That's how it affects us. I don't take any part. There's people on Twitter that are taking a side, and I'm saying, look, I don't take a side. It's something that will never be resolved. They hate each other.
Well, this is like that stupid fucking copper in London the weekend. Saying that the swastika isn't anti-Semitic. Now, to me, there is no bigger symbol of oppression and genocide and shit like that than the swastika. But this copper just deemed it wasn't a problem in that situation. Yeah, anything Nazi parties, anything like that, they are extremist groups. They've been proved to be extremist groups, and they're illegal, and so is their paraphernalia. Yet this copper said, oh, no, it's all right to walk around with a swastika. You fucking idiot. I think it was only on a sticker as well. I don't think it was actually a flag. But, there's no bigger symbol of hate for one particular group of people than the swastika. It's ridiculous.
I think I might be in trouble if I actually flew that flag outside. They come to question my thinking.
Well, there's enough trouble flying this fucker out there, you know, the Union flag. But no, that just points out the ridiculousness of the police. That really does. I couldn't believe it when I watched the video. Quite a few people have put it out there now. It's only a short one usually. But the copper had no reasonable excuse for what he said. You know, he can't be that uneducated that he didn't know what that symbolises. Yes, we all know it's a symbol going back many, many years, way before the Nazi Party adopted it and what have you.
There is a swastika stone on Ilkley Moor. It's an ancient pagan symbol.
Yeah.
And it also dates back to India for about 5,000 years.
Yeah. It's, you know, the same as the Germans adopting the eagle as their symbol, wasn't it? You know, who were the last ones to do that? The Romans, who tried to conquer the world.
Well, the Romans salute
So,
even appropriated that.
Are they going to make a symbol of an eagle illegal? If you've got a legal eagle, there you go.
Right, I'm going to jump off, Roger.
All right, mate. Yeah, I'm not going to be on much longer. I'm starting to feel it. It's not because it's later than my normal streams, but I have been quite tired lately. So
there's somebody else streaming, and I normally jump on. And
yeah, no worries, mate.
With,
no worries. Appreciate you dropping in.
Injections of edgy comedy.
Yeah,
just to bring things, you know, to make things giggle or people giggle. They always come for the comedians first, don't they?
Yep.
Bastards. Right, I'm off. Catch you later, folks.
All right, buddy. Take it easy. Yeah, and this is the problem, Beardy. I mean, you've only got to look at the woke coppers they're pulling in now. You know, that stupid bitch, oh, you can't sing religious songs in public. You got to sing them in the churchyard. Yeah, go fuck yourself. I mean, but that sort of attitude is going to get them nowhere. No, she can't probably say, honestly, I can't think anybody had told her that was the law. That is something she's come up with personally. But, you know, these are the sort of people that the police are employing now. All right, she was allegedly a volunteer. I think after that she'll probably be volunteering somewhere else. But this is the way to deal with them. When they make themselves look stupid like that, put them on social media. Like Dan says, any interaction with them, film. And it's showing the people just how ridiculous they are. Okay, there might be only a few that take notice and speak up about it, but it's showing what they're really like and how they're working. And I've always believed that these pro-Palestine protests or marches, as they call them, whatever, rallies, we know they're a protest. They're too frightened of doing anything because there's too many of them. Can't see anybody intelligent. I think we sounded no, exactly, Russell. This is why the old time coppers are leaving. Simply because they're not happy with the way they're being told to police and the way policing's being done. And they don't want to be part of it, and I wouldn't. I wouldn't encourage anybody to join the police force nowadays. We do need a police force, absolutely. I've never denied that. I mean, the country would be absolutely chaos and a lot worse than it is now without any type of police. But all we want them to do is act in the way they're supposed to be acting and the way they're paid to act, which is uphold the law, not create their own, not antagonise and incriminate innocent people or try and incriminate innocent people, harass people. Now, everybody I've seen on YouTube gets harassment from the police for filming. Yet I've never seen a film of them harassing any holidaymakers filming. And I don't mean the auditors, I mean just people filming in public, doing a film, the piano player, people like that. Has anybody seen any foreign holidaymakers being arrested for filming, taking pictures? No. Yes,
Well-
Jen, they are. They're weak. They're weak and they're frightened, I believe. They are very frightened. But the government have done an excellent job of splitting us all up into these little groups, and the only ones that they're allowing in big groups now are the ones they want, which are the the troublemakers by the looks of things. But there you go. What can we do? We're just the little people that don't get listened to. And this goes back to what I said, that we need a government that's going to listen to and work on behalf of the people. You know, it's not all about making huge amounts of money that they seem to think. It's about keeping the people comfortable. If we didn't give a lot of the money away, we would be a lot better off. The army's gone way worse, Jen. The morale in the army now is at rock bottom. A lot of them are off with mental illness. And the ones they're trying to recruit, well, we've seen the mess they've made of that. I mean, the army now been given permission to grow, I think it's 25 centimetre beard, is it? Bearded Veteran might be able to put me right on that with the app name there. But they're actually going to be allowed to grow beards again. Now, is this going to attract more minority people trying to join up because they're allowed to keep their beard that they grow through religious reasons or whatever? Or is it because it's today's trend where the blokes have big beards?
Especially the bald ones.
Especially the bald ones.
No. There
Yeah,
was
compensating.
nearly everybody with a long beard at the wedding.
And a
was
bald
bald.
head. Yeah. But, you know, we knew the Navy had to grow a bit. They were allowed to grow beards. Yeah, they have said that they got to keep it trimmed, but I seem to remember them saying that they're allowed to grow one that was 25 centimetres long. Well, that's a fucking 8-inch beard. Basically. Which to me, it would look like the Indians and that on that bloody gate with the ceremonies, with all the big beards flipping their fucking feet over their heads and shit. That's all stopped now, by the way, as well. Very famous.
India, Pakistan.
India and Pakistan. Thank you, darling. That was it. The border between India and Pakistan with all the false threats. But if I remember rightly, Beardy, wouldn't it? You could grow any amount of facial hair as long as it didn't come down below the top lip.
Didn't you only have 2 weeks to grow it or something?
That was in the Navy.
That was I knew it was somewhere.
You had a certain time period where you had to grow it a certain amount.
Because if you'd still only got bum fluff, it had to come off.
Regimental sergeant looking to stop the lads from. Yeah, but if it's regulation, Beardy, they're allowed to, aren't they? The RSM might be able to say, yeah, I'm going to stop you, but
Scruffy Arab.
it only takes one to have the balls to stand up and go and report the RSM. And but to me, it's as soon as they let the police do it, you know, the police now look scruffy as fuck from what I can remember them as a kid. They always look smart. They were always proud of their appearance.
And that's the thing, as long as they're smart, fine. But if it's unkempt and scruffy, needs to be tidied.
Well, most of them look scruffy now anyway, with the baggy combats and yellow jackets and bellies poking out under the fluorescent jacket. It's like there's no fitness test for the police anymore. couldn't grow below the middle of the ears. Moustaches could go past the corner of the mouth. Yeah, and that was where the old whiskers come from, wasn't it? Yeah, I do remember that one. I couldn't remember the dimension. I remember something about the top lip because my mate used to grow a pair of handlebars, and as they used to be called, and it looked absolutely fucking ridiculous because he was only in his low 20s at the time.
Handlebar toshes are cool.
Yeah, but it's all that fucking waxing, and I can't be doing with it. If I can't just comb it and trim it, that's it. But on saying that, mine was down here at one point and out here. But
Pictures are available.
yeah, I haven't got any pictures of me with my big beard, funny enough. They were all in the albums that were...
I
lost.
thought you just meant when you turned into the Mad Prof.
Oh, no, that one. Mine was way worse than that.
I know yours was bigger than that, but there's pictures of you as the Mad Prof.
My hair was down to my waist almost. Be able to comb it over the top of my head and look like fucking Cousin It. Right, guys, I am going to drop down now. Sorry to cut it short again, but I am starting to feel it. Now, next week, I will be doing my normal live on the Wednesday. Where are we? I'm looking at the dates on here. I may do a quick live for an hour or so on Sunday, just to let people know that Dan's coming back the following week and hopefully going to go live. Because it would have been a members only live stream anyway. So and I know there's a lot of people that would be in there that aren't in here at the moment. So I may fire one up on Sunday. We'll
If
see
I
how
don't
we
wear
go.
them out.
The only reason I'm looking at the dates is because the amount of time I have left on my free StreamYard, I don't pay for it. But guys, as always, thank you very much for joining in with us tonight. Again, it is a bit slow because I'll be honest, I haven't kept up with a lot of the news and what's been going on over the weekend. Obviously, I've been busy on other things, as it were. But thank you all for dropping in. Thank you, Lofa, for coming up on the panel. Holly, thank you very much for the links and everything else that you do in the background there. Same as the lovely Mrs. W on research and tech backup behind me there.
There's the Major Lurker. Moo's been there all night.
Yeah. Oh, Moo's been there all night. I dare say Wee Wood's in the background somewhere as well. She'll say good night in a minute. I know you're there, guys. I know you don't always join in and you're doing things while you're just listening. So you're only drinking a litre of Blake fluid down from 5 litres. Yeah. Very good, Bleach Demon. Take care, Ricky, Drone, everybody else in the chat. I will do a video tomorrow. There's Wee One. Hi, sweetie. But take care of yourselves, and as always, stay safe, stay strong, and stay free. Look after yourselves, guys.
Bye.